Thank you, Mr Speaker, and first of all, may I, on behalf of the ACT Party, wish you, sir, and your wife a very happy Christmas. And also on behalf of all of New Zealand, thank you for your service as Speaker, because no one can... I think everyone appreciates the good humour and the grace that you have brought to the job of Speaker, and your fairness in the application of the rules, and your sense of appreciation of the importance of Parliament in any functioning democracy. And certainly, sir, you have improved question time out of sight for the people of New Zealand, if not for government ministers. Certainly you've made question time relevant, and I thank you for that, Mr Speaker. I'd also like to acknowledge in this Parliament, and I'm sure others will appreciate this, VIP driver Jimmy, who has retired after 33 years of service to sit on the beach in Waihi. And also, sir, to note the very sad loss of Twiss, who passed away earlier this year, who was a friend and a confidant of us all, which was a very great loss and a sudden loss. Mr Speaker, also to acknowledge all the work of ministerial services and parliamentary services, particularly the messengers who have to sit through some pretty mind-numbing speeches. And also I would think, I was thinking of you, Mr Nash, and also acknowledge the Hansard team, because not only do they have to sit through them, they actually have to type them up, Mr Nash. And I wish that you would think of that more often. But I've noticed, Mr Nash, that they can take your speeches and make them actually read rather well. So thanks to the Hansard team. I'd also like to acknowledge the tremendous work through the year of Mark Ford and the Transition Agency in producing the new Auckland Council, the Chief Executive of the Department of Internal Affairs and his team, Brendan Boyle, but also, Mr Speaker, the staff of the old councils who worked assiduously to produce a good result in Auckland, and the staff of the new Auckland Council who are working so well to make it work for the benefit of Auckland and the rest of the country. I'd also, sir, like to acknowledge the Prime Minister John Key, who undoubtedly is doing a fantastic job as Prime Minister, which is acknowledged by the people of New Zealand. He's been fantastic to work with, I find, as a Minister, and also, sir, my ministerial colleagues. I'd also like, Mr Speaker, to acknowledge all the ACT staff in Wellington and in Auckland, and also our new MP, Hilary Calvert. Mr Speaker, I would also like to acknowledge the people of Epsom who support me as their MP, and I hope, Mr Speaker, that one day Mr Twyford can convince the Labour Party to let him stand in some seat in Auckland one day, and he too can ask people for the vote. I want to thank the people of Epsom, and also, Mr Speaker, all the ACT members and supporters. Mr Speaker, we promised the people of New Zealand that if they voted for us in Epsom and us on the party vote, it would affect a change of government, and we'd go from a Helen Clark-led government to a John Key-led government, and that happened as a consequence of the vote in Epsom and for ACT. We promised the people of New Zealand that ACT would ensure not just a change of government, Mr Speaker, but a stable government, and we have delivered on that. And not just, Mr Speaker, a stable government, but a better government as a consequence of the party vote for ACT, Mr Speaker, and we have done that. The highlights for us for the year, Mr Speaker, undoubtedly ACT's achievement in passing 3 strikes legislation to ensure that people are going to be safer in the street. And Mr Speaker, we certainly know that that is something that the people of New Zealand have been asking for a very long time, and they were delivered it by giving their party vote to ACT. I believe that the change that we did in Auckland has been successful, and, Mr Speaker, that will make a big difference, not just to the people of Auckland, but to the people of New Zealand. I look forward, Mr Speaker, to 1 year the Labour Party getting positive and starting to make a contribution in our Parliament instead of sitting there, even on this pleasant day, carping away miserable in opposition. And I guess they're feeling hurt because the barbecue season is upon them, and no one knows that more keenly than Mr Cunliffe and Mr Goff. Also, Mr Speaker, we're proud of the fact that because of our work, we've done the work to open up ACC to choice and to competition. We've opened up the opportunity for more people to get work through our 90 days changes to 90 days legislation. And I'd like to say, Mr Speaker, what a pleasure it has been for me to work in special education and to see how well the special ed review that this government done has been received by principals, teachers and parents alike. On Saturday, Mr Speaker, we passed into law the Productivity Commission, which will no doubt make a big difference to New Zealand, and I appreciate Leanne Dalzell, who is already shouting her support across the room for the work that the ACT Party has done, and I appreciate her support in getting the Productivity Commission up and running. I look forward next year, Mr Speaker, to introducing the Regulatory Responsibility Bill to further clamp down on red tape, and the Taxpayer Rights Bill to get on top of government spending after years of neglect by the previous Labor government. And, Mr Speaker, I appreciate enormously the work that in the campaign that the ACT MPs and the ACT team have done in campaigning against not just Labor's 2004 foreshore and seabed legislation, but also the present government's attempt to improve that when in fact it makes it worse. And also, Mr Speaker, the team campaigning against the emissions trading scheme and ensuring that this government does a proper review next year so that we don't impose unnecessary costs on New Zealand producers, households and families to no net advantage to the environment. Mr Speaker, I end by wishing the Labour Party members, the Green Party members, the ACT Party members, the Maori Party members and the National Party members all the very best for Christmas. We look forward to seeing you back in the new year. And Mr Speaker, once again, we thank you for your service and your work as Speaker. Thank you.